A man named Richard is displayed toward the beginning of the film. He was playing a football coordinate with his group. Then, at that point, the player of adversary group assaults him. Also he falls him down. Richard ends up being exceptionally irate on this. What's more, Richard additionally starts to beat him sharply. Because of this, all individuals become apprehensive there. In the following scene, Richard and his dearest companion Lisa come on the scene. Whenever they were speaking with one another. Then, at that point Richard becomes crazy and he is changed into a werewolf. Furthermore, he attempts to hurt Lisa. Lisa runs from that point as being apprehensive from him. Whenever Richard awakens in the exceptionally next morning. Then, at that point, he comes to realize that he has killed his folks. Subsequently, Richard turns out to be so troubled and nostalgic. Also, he is again changed into a werewolf. Simultaneously, his companion Lisa arrives at there, taking the cops. Furthermore, Richard escapes. Furthermore, this news becomes viral. That Richard has ended the existences of his folks and everybody is given final proposal. That Richard is a destructive kid and he has additionally finished his folks. Then, at that point, cops start to look for Richard. It is known that Richard can handle himself when there is full moon night. So he is changed into a werewolf. After this, he comes to realize that he had been taken on by his folks. Knowing this, Richard feels so off-kilter. Richard had never assumed it. Afterward, Richard is going. He sees that two young men are beating a young lady on the way. Then, at that point, that young lady requests help from Richard. Richard asks those young men to leave that young lady, yet they neglect his admonition. Furthermore, they inquire Richard to move away. He is irritated, hearing this. He is changed into a werewolf once more. Presently, Richard kills both of those young men. Seeing this, that young lady is so frightened and she runs from that point. After it, Richard moves to a bar where he meets a man named Wild Joe. What's more, Wild Joe was additionally not a standard man but rather a werewolf. Presently, Richard had realized this, that he isn't just a single werewolf. Be that as it may, Richard couldn't handle himself. He asks exactly the same thing from Wild Joe. Wild Joe asks him, "Do your folks not show you this?" Hearing this, Richard uncovers to him that I am an embraced kid. I never saw my natural guardians. Presently it becomes affirmed by Richard. Others additionally exist who are like him. Presently he inquires Wild Joe of his genuine location. Yet, Wild Joe restricts him to tell. Yet, he provides some insight into him while leaving. So Richard may go at that spot. After this, he arrives at the town. Arriving at there, he goes into the nearby bar where all individuals were gazing at him. Whenever he goes to the bar proprietor named Angelina subsequent to taking the bear. Then, at that point, he starts to draw towards her. What's more, he gets some information about working from Angelina. A kid shows up there when he was conversing with Angelina. What's more, he starts to show sick conduct to Richard. In any case, he says nothing in bar to him. What's more, he starts to sit tight for that kid, leaving the bar. Whenever all guests of bar leave it, then he assaults that kid, thinking that he is separated from everyone else. What's more, that kid pursues away being apprehensive from him. Also, a man named John offers him to fill in as a farm worker at his homestead. What's more, he goes with Richard to his home. What's more, a man named Connor approaches there. Who says to Richard that you have beaten one of my men. Then, at that point, John comes there and says to Connor. Also, he says that he is my nephew, your men were to blame in the bar. Knowing this, Connor leaves that spot. Following day, Richard finds a dead body of a wolf. Furthermore, John lets him know that it has been finished by any wolf, which chased the creature with practically no reason. Then, at that point, Richard meets with a kid while moving to a bar. He tells, "I am your subsequent cousin." He asks him to stay away from Connor. Yet, Connor was gazing at them, remaining far. Saying this, that kid runs from that point. Connor's men catch him on the way. Furthermore, he asks him, "Which data have you conveyed to Richard?" That kid tells Connor, "I have told to Richard to leave this town. What's more, I educated to get him so far from Angelina." Then, at that point, Connor shares with him, "You have additionally educated something concerning myself to Richard." Since I had additionally heard my name around then. Presently, Connor requests that that kid escape. He compromises, "It is great, assuming you fled any other way we will chase you." Then, at that point, Connor's all men go to the backwoods while following that kid. Richard hears the voice of that kid when he was returning. So Richard likewise returns to the timberland. Richard meets Angelina when he comes to the backwoods. Angelina lets him know that Connor and his men are hunting a kid. Whenever Richard witnesses that Connor's men are eating that man-like creatures. Then, at that point Richard comes to the place of Angelina with her. Furthermore, he starts to watch a similar news. In the interim, John's better half hugs him, seeing him. Seeing this, Richard turns out to be so shocked. John tells him here, "Your mom is the little girl of my sister, who was thoroughbred." Whenever Connor witnessed her. Then, at that point, he had begun to like her. Whenever she dismisses his proposition of Connor for marriage. Then, at that point Connor enticed her. "So you are the child of same Connor. It really intends that Connor is your dad." John additionally uncovers to him that your granddad had gotten out the word of your mom's demise all over the place. However, she was not dead. He had rather secured her in a room. He had done as such. Connor may never gain admittance to your mom. We give you to somebody when you took birth. This was the reason that your mom ended it all at that very month. Connor turned out to be all the more destructive after the passing of your mom. He changed more individuals into werewolves subsequent to gnawing them. Then, at that point, he made a bunch of werewolves. Presently he exploits others with others. In any case, such werewolves are more vulnerable than thoroughbred werewolves. Furthermore, you are thoroughbred werewolf. It is uncovered through this, a thoroughbred young lady is expected for Connor presently. After this, he won't ever hurt anybody consequently. Presently Angelina was just young lady in the entire town who was prepared for this. Also she personally needed to give up previously Connor. What's more, she additionally attempts to disclose this to Richard. Also Richard tells her, "We all are like creatures. I have likewise killed my folks." Then, at that point Angelina tells Richard that my dad got back to home at a night subsequent to being excessively inebriated. Also he ended the existence of my mom. At the point when he woke up promptly toward the beginning of the day. He was so blue, seeing this. Simultaneously, he ended it all in the wake of slitting her jugular. Presently Richard asks her, either it is influence or a revile. Then, at that point Angelina tells him, it isn't under a gift assuming we deal with this. Presently Richard inquires Angelina to get herself far from him. So he may not hurt Angelina. However, Angelina disallows him on this. Then, at that point, bunch of thoroughbred werewolves accumulates in the home of John around evening time. Also they generally needed this that Angelina should be given to Connor. In any case, Richard restricts this. Furthermore he passes on to the backwoods to confront Connor alone. Presently he says to Connor while contacting him, "I'm the child of similar ladies who had been allured by you." Connor shares with him here that I allow you an opportunity. As I deal to everybody. He inquires Richard to escape from here. Hearing this, Connor turns out to be so forceful. He sends every one of his men later Richard. What's more, Richard kills every one of his men, arriving at Woodland. Then, at that point Connor and his men encompass him and they start to beat him savagely. Because of this, Richard yells boisterously. Presently Angelina likewise starts to hurry to the timberland, hearing the yelling of Richard. Presently Connor was going to Richard here. Then, at that point Richard assaults him with his paws. What's more, he flees. Whenever he sees, pushing forward. There is a profound trench. Presently Richard had no alternate way. Presently Richard hops into the trench. Thus, he turns out to be so injured. After this, he witnesses Wild Joe who urges him to stand up. Presently Richard moves to the timberland somehow or another in the wake of standing up. He meets Angelina there who brings him at home. Presently John requests to get Richard up. According to he, it is just a way through which you can recuperate. In any case, Richard stays incapable to get up. Then, at that point John motions Angelina. What's more, Angelina moves to Richard. Because of this, a change comes in the body development of Richard. What's more, Richard starts to be recuperated. After this, Angelina starts to bring him outside. Also she requests that he flee. As a matter of first importance, Richard precludes. In any case, he runs while re-establishing his boldness. His all injuries are recuperated when he runs. Afterward, the two of them come to John. It is known that John has numerous explosives. Also Richard hits upon a thought here. He starts to make the slugs so the werewolves might be finished. At the point when he was setting the touchy material under the earth. Then, at that point, he hears the voice of Angelina. He comes to know when he comes to at home that they have seized John and Angelina. Furthermore, they additionally call Richard there. They had kept Angelina there subsequent to tying her. Presently Richard kills the watchman, arriving at there. Presently he had totally changed into a werewolf. Furthermore, Connor's men start to attack him there. Furthermore, he kills everybody there individually. Furthermore, he begins hurrying to the forest in the wake of liberating Angelina from their snare. Presently Angelina likewise kills all at that spot. Liberating John from confine, she sends him to safeguard Richard. Presently they hang tight for the appearance of Richard, arriving at home. Connor's men additionally approach at home when Richard arrives at there. What's more, he requests that they return. Hearing this, Connor is angered. What's more, he requests that his men bring Richard disadvantage. However, John begins terminating there. Subsequently, numerous men of Connor meet their end. Simultaneously, Connor hears the voice of Richard toward farmhouse. At the point when Connor arrives at the farmhouse alongside his men, Richard locks the entryway of that farmhouse there. Also John begins terminating there. So there is an incredible blast there. Presently Connor's totally endure men were additionally finished. However, Connor is made do and he assaults Richard. Presently Richard battles with him and falls him down. Then, at that point John planned to shoot his weapon at him, yet Richard denies him. He reminds to Connor, "You have submitted numerous terrible deeds. So you should bite the dust." Then, at that point Connor lets him know that, "I never fouled up with your mom. We were infatuated with one another. Whenever your granddad spread the bogus fresh insight about your mom's demise, I had lost my heart from that time. Since I had extraordinary warm gestures for your mom. What's more, this distress had transformed me into a detestable man." Then, at that point, the past man Wild Joe comes there, with whom he had met in a nearby club. He tells that I previously needed to get payback from Connor. Be that as it may, he had turned into the reason for my expulsion. However, I would never overcome him. Whenever my sibling filled me in about Richard. Then, at that point, I killed the guardians of Richard's folks. Through it, this news spread that Richard has killed his own folks. So Richard needed to come around here, while leaving his local country. Hearing this, Richard ends up being so irate and he starts to hit Wild Joe. Also Wild Joe punches Richard. Therefore, he tumbles down. At the point when Connor prohibits him of doing as such, then, at that point Wild Joe slits his jugular severely. Because of this, Connor is likewise passed on at the spot. Presently Wild Joe likewise attempted to kill Richard. Then, at that point, Richard's uncle John salvages him, coming there. Furthermore, Wild Joe starts to run from that point, however Richard stops him. Wild Joe was smoking then. At that point Richard tosses his cigarette on the ground, getting it. Furthermore, his spread dangerous are set ablaze. Presently Richard himself goes a long way from Wild Joe. Because of that cigarette, those spread touchy material is impacted. Also Wild Joe reaches a conclusion. In the following scene, it is seen that Richard and Angelina were moving out of the town. Then, at that point John provides them with the rundown of last survivors thoroughbred werewolves. Those names were recorded here who were thoroughbred werewolves. Also the film finishes on this scene here.